Hello, Victoria Ali here from everyonecounts.world. Thanks for joining me today. Everyonecounts.world is a place where anyone can go from surviving to thriving by getting clarity in their lives. So today what's on my mind is this magical concept that fears are actually friends of mine. And I'm here with one of my fears today. Many of you might share this fear with me, but it's not just the spider that I'm fearful of or something in the physical world, such as a bus about to run me over and the instinct to jump out of the way. What I'm actually after today are some of those invisible types of fears that we all have from time to time. And it's very hard to identify the source of these fears for me. So today what I thought I'd talk about is some of the processes that I've taken in order to identify these fears. And basically that's what we're going to do. We're going to accept the fears, first of all, that we do have them and they are real. Secondly, we're going to identify the source for those fears. Thirdly, we're going to befriend these fears and thank them and find out what gift they're trying to bring us. And fourth, we're going to come up with a strategy to actually address the real identified fear in a direct way rather than turning to some of these indirect methods. So, without further ado, we're going to actually, since this is an invisible mental emotional type of fear process, we're actually going to dive into our own minds to do this journey, to do this adventure. So I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to join me with this process. First of all, close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4 or 5. And do that a couple of times. Okay, and once you've kind of settled your physical body so the adrenaline isn't running so fast and hard, then imagine yourself on the edge of a forest and you're picking blackberries or blueberries or strawberries at the edge of this forest. And all of a sudden you feel some kind of a force go past you and you can feel the air and you look to the tree beyond you because you hear it hitting and you see there's an arrow stuck in a tree. And you're realizing there's something behind you that's shooting arrows at you, or at least in your direction. You turn around and you can't really see anything. There's a speck, but then at the same time as you're turning around, you see another arrow, but it's closer. And in fact, this time it hits a tree just to the right of your head. And so, jumping into adrenaline mode, this is where most of us go when a fear comes up. So let's take it down the path. We're running now through this forest. We're into the forest trying to dodge these arrows. The more we run, the more we dodge, the more arrows start floating in our direction. And every time that I peek out around the corner of the tree, whiz, another one of these arrows comes flying by. And so this is very stressful. It's hard to know what to do. I'm in instinctive mode and I'm just running and automatically my mind starts telling me, oh my God, it's because this person doesn't like me, or it's because I'm not good enough at my job and they're going to fire me and then I'm going to have no money. And so there's just this point of like, in the beginning, without even thinking about those things, we're thinking about, I'm going to get physically hurt. In fact, I might even get killed by these arrows. So keep going along this path and keep dodging those arrows for a minute. And up ahead, can you see a huge boulder? I want you to make for that boulder. I want you to go to that boulder and run around it to the other side and join me there. Okay, I'm breathing hard too. This is tough. So we're here, we're on the other side of the boulder, and now we can hear those arrows are hitting the boulder and they're bouncing off and they're going around us and hitting trees around us. But unfortunately, those arrows also seem like they're getting closer and closer. So the fear is there that whatever is chasing us and hunting us is getting closer. And this is what happens to me every time I have a panic attack. I can't even think of what it is. I immediately just think of something immediately in my environment that might have triggered it. So we're together, we're not alone. But this time, this next step you will have to take alone. So the first step is we acknowledge, let's tell each other, yes, we do have a fear and we feel like it's hunting us down. We feel like we have no control over it. It feels like we're going to die if we don't do something drastically different very soon. And so, yeah, we're acknowledging there is this fear. And so acknowledging that fear, we also think to the next step. Okay, in my physical environment right now, is somebody actually shooting a physical arrow at me? No, I'm in a boardroom and I'm feeling like people are shooting imaginary arrows towards me. That's what's really going on. Or I'm with a partner and something they're saying feels like they're attacking me. So this is where the reality is that there is no real physical threat at the moment. Now, if that's not the case and you do have a physical threat, I invite you to stop now, dial 911, get help. Don't continue this any longer. Stop and get help. But let's continue with the assumption and assuming, or let's pretend that there is no physical threat, that it's basically something inside of us that is getting triggered emotionally or mentally. So if that's the case, we know for a fact that if we walk out from behind this stone and try to actually see what's shooting at us, we're not going to get physically harmed. So this is step number 2 in the process. We decide to turn around and see and identify what this fear really is. So join me now. Let's go out to the middle of the forest where all these arrows are going by, and some of them feel like they're coming in and sticking to me and to my body. There might even feel like there's blood going on. It might feel painful to turn around and actually look at what's shooting at me. And it's hard to tell because the figure is so far away, but I can see those arrows flying towards me. So what do I do now? I act like Neo at the end of the first Matrix movie. I basically stand up, I stand tall, and I walk towards whatever's shooting at me, and I become the hunter. And I go to find out what exactly is this that's hunting me down. And as I get closer, more and more arrows are shooting towards me. More and more things are trying to knock me off the path. But in my mind, here's what's happening. As I start to dissect what is actually chasing me, or what do I feel afraid of, first thought is, I feel afraid in this boardroom. I feel like something is going to happen and these people are going to dislike me. I'm going to feel embarrassed. They're going to kick me out. I'll lose my job. I won't have any money. I'll starve to death. So this is what's going on in my mind with the first pass. So then we take a look at that first pass and say, is that in fact the case? Are these people in this conference room bullies? Are they going to kick me out? And they may or may not kick me out, but is there another conference room? Is there another job I can get? Most likely. So as soon as I can see, wait a second, it's not really those people in the conference room. It's my fear of what's going to happen. Well, what is that fear? Why would they get mad? Because I'm afraid I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm going to say the wrong thing and the person's going to get upset. And I'm going to show my ignorance in the field like I'm an imposter. So now we start to get down to it, that this is really an internal fear coming from myself. It's a message that I have, and I'm starting to figure it out. It's like, wait a second, I feel like there's something wrong with me. And as I start to get that realization, I come upon this small, humble figure that looks like a little being in a cape. And I still can't see exactly what it is, but I see the fact that it's trying to tell me something, which is that I'm in pain, but it's telling me that the pain is not really coming from the outside. It's coming from the messages and the beliefs that I have about myself on the inside. It's basically telling me I don't feel valid in the world. I don't feel validated. I don't feel lovable. I don't feel secure and safe. And that's what it's telling me. And even though it's using these other people in the conference room as a puppet to try to demonstrate this to me, the truth is that this is really coming from within myself. And so when I really look at what this issue is, I can see, let's take it back even further though. It's like, well, why do I feel that way? Well, maybe somebody got mad at me when I was a child. Maybe somebody did leave me in a relationship when I tried to show my true self. They left me. You know, maybe a parent didn't listen when I needed them to listen when I was younger. Maybe they were going through their own things. And instead, they got angry when I showed vulnerability or that kind of thing. So what I'm seeing is that maybe a parent thought the right thing to do is to teach me tough love instead of validating how priceless I am. So now is the point where our own parent steps in, because our physical parents did the best they could with the information they had. That's my belief. But this is now ourselves. So this is something that we do, is we step in and we say, okay, now we know what the real issue is. We don't feel okay. We don't feel lovable. We don't feel safe. And that is what's really going on. And so now we turn to our friend and we thank our friend fear and say, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I didn't realize that I felt this about my life and myself. I didn't realize I was placing my dependence on people outside of myself to give me self-esteem, to give me validation, to give me love, that feeling that I'm okay, and that security that all is well financially and otherwise. And so now that we've gotten the situation down, the trick is to talk to this friend of mine and say, thank you for your service. I really appreciate it. I'll take it from here. And now is where we help ourselves, and we tell ourselves, our own coach inside, our own parent, to tell ourselves the truth, which I believe to be true, which is that everyone listening to this visualization, everyone in the world, whether I ever meet you or not, I deeply believe that each of us is a priceless treasure and always has been, just for being born, just for breathing, just for being on the earth. And that's the truth. There are a lot of people out there taking advantage of these false fears to tell us to wear a certain kind of makeup or whatever in order to be acceptable. But the truth is that we're already perfect. Now, yes, we can have fun with some of these things, but now is the time to say, okay, thank you for bringing this to my awareness. Now let's step out and do some research, because in this visualization it would take longer to find out how can I personally get that feeling of being perfectly all right. As my friend Sue Nesbitt says, it's okay to already be okay. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is hug this fear that's now a friend, thank it and say, I appreciate it. Come back if you see something else like this going on. And I visualize this friend running away into the prairie and saying, waving and going to someone else who needs the help. And then I walk out into the sunlight, into the meadow of my sacred space, and just see the beautiful waves of wheat and the ocean beyond and the feeling of warmth, and lay down in my lawn chair and just absorb the reality that all is well, all always has been well. And I'm okay. I'm perfectly all right. I've always been perfectly all right. Sit with this for just a moment. Feel the support of your lawn chair, or if you're standing, feel the support of the earth, or Mars if you're on Mars. Then breathe a couple of times again, deeply. Okay, and when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and toes and wake up and see, yes, fears are really friends and they carry a lot of wisdom. Okay, so let's review that visualization and see how that experience did support what we originally set out to do, which is to get to the source of our fears. So the first step is we accepted that the fear was real and that it had a message for us, and that we could feel the adrenaline, we validated it. We didn't just discount it and say, oh, this is all in my head. We actually accepted that, okay, there's a real message that's trying to get through here. That's the first step that we did. As we were running through the forest and that kind of thing and finally got behind the rock, that's the point at which we're like, okay, there's a real fear here, but it's not a mortal fear. It's not going to kill me. Secondly, what we did was we went and identified that fear by risking going out into the forest, turning around and starting to walk towards and run towards that which hunted us, which is the source of that fear. We actually started tracking it instead of letting it scare us off. And through that process, we were able to realize that our first thought about what the fear was based on wasn't accurate. It was a smokescreen for the real fears underneath it all, which were that we weren't enough. So we finally were able, in that second step to identify exactly what it was by befriending. The third step, befriending that fear and thanking that fear. We were able to get to that fact that this was not, that this is something inside of us. So step 3 was we did befriend that fear and thank it for its service. And through talking to that fear and ourselves, our parent selves, our higher selves, we were able to uncover what the true source was. And through that, we were able to start practicing some healing that came from within, not from some outside source, like a specific person or a job or money or that kind of thing. So hopefully this exercise was helpful to you. And you've been able to learn, like I have over the years, how to turn our fears into friends. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Subscribe if you'd like this video and like it. Tell me in the comments what some of your fears are that you have a hard time identifying. Let's talk, let's work it out. It's exciting. I'm not a therapist, as you know, but I am somebody who has been there and is happier because of the fact that I was able to turn my fears into my friends. Thanks. See you soon.